This is Speak of the Devils on AZ Family Sports.
Welcome to Speak of the Devils, the premier TV show for Sun Devil football. I'm Brad Denny with 3TV and CBS 5.
And I'm Joe Healey with DevilsDigest.com.
Joe, such is our dedication to our loyal listeners and viewers that we are recording this in the middle of the 8th inning of Game 7 to see who's going to play your Texas Rangers, because this Sun Devil football program has always given us lots to talk about.
The prophecy that I foretold a few months ago as a smart aleck, saying the Rangers versus the Diamondbacks in the World Series, that could be a reality. So we will see what comes of that as we are recording right now. But yeah, focusing on what's the top of the list for us here, Sun Devil football. Another game, another hard-fought battle, but yet again, another defeat for Arizona State.
Close but no cigar is becoming the real theme of this season. The fourth game in a row, ASU's had their opponent kind of in the position to win a game in the fourth quarter. This time on the road against number 5 Washington. They have a lead. They're in position to score. And then, just as we've seen the previous 3 weeks, a back-breaking mistake. This time, pick 6 thwarts ASU's hopes for a big-time statement victory, dropping them to 1-6, 6 straight losses. But it's kind of weird because there's, as we talk about every week, there's still a lot of kind of good and kind of the trend lines, and a lot of key areas are going up. But just ultimately, the thing that the programs are judged by, the W's, just ain't there yet.
Yeah. What you're seeing is incremental improvement. What you're seeing are things that you can get excited about, but what you're also seeing are things that are still certainly frustrating. I mean, it is a frustrating season to have a 1-6 record, no matter how you slice it. But when you see the forest for the trees, especially on defense, my goodness, that was one of the best team defense performances that we have seen in many, many years, no matter the circumstances, especially when you're considering you had the Heisman Trophy front runner at quarterback for Washington that Arizona State really made an impact on, forcing turnovers, limiting that high-powered Husky offense. Now then, in the end, Washington walked away with the win, and they're still in a position for potential college football playoff position, maybe a Pac-12 championship, those sort of things. So there are elements that Arizona State can be proud of, especially, again, on defense, items to work on. It's kind of that same old song. So I think we're settling in about that. But at the end of the day, Arizona State didn't pack it in, didn't give up, didn't go up to that game afraid. We've seen some road games, especially for ASU in the past several years, where they might be outmatched and they're outgunned from the start. That was not the case this past Saturday. So while it's difficult to really hang your hat on moral victories and that sort of thing, and you don't want that to be a program expectation or being okay with just good enough to compete but not win, in a season like this, you do need to extract those small victories when you can find them.
Yeah, and so we'd be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit more about that defensive performance. Defensive coordinator Brian Ward, we talked about in recent weeks, basically all season long, this is a legitimately good Sun Devil defense, but going on the road against the Heisman frontrunner Michael Penix Jr., against a team that came in averaging over 44 points and about 500 yards per game, holding them to 288 yards, generating 4 turnovers, holding them to just 3 of 11 third down conversions, and no offensive touchdowns. That's pretty darn good. You can't ask for any more from your defense to give that kind of performance. Absolutely just stellar performance. I mean, Joe, you're kind of the Sun Devil historian. Like, can you even recall a single game performance collectively by a Sun Devil defense that even comes close to this kind of, with all the factors, on the road against that caliber of opponent?
It's hard to think of one, really, and just kind of going off memory and things that I've seen and experienced over the decades that I've been following this program. That was very, very impressive. Again, like you say, you have to keep into consideration that incredible performer at quarterback for Washington in Michael Penix Jr. that they have. I mean, you have to think the world of him and what he's done. He still might win the Heisman Trophy, but honestly, that performance against ASU might be something that impacts that in a negative way. So, yeah, it's something that you really can be proud of. You really hope that ASU can keep that fire up. I know that it's easy to get frustrated with the team. Within the team, if you're on the team, if you're a player there, especially on defense when you're doing your part and maybe the offense isn't pulling their weight, so to speak. But if that sort of mentality, that attacking mentality on defense can continue, I really think that ASU can steal a few games here throughout the course of the remainder of the season, maybe even starting this week, and just get a little bit more fire, a little bit more energy and momentum in this season than maybe we would have thought a couple weeks ago when we're looking at the schedule and saying maybe one more win, maybe not. I'm not saying they're going to win out or anything like that, but that was a very inspiring performance on defense.
Yeah, and so another key theme that's been kind of finding all season long, really, is the injuries. And they kind of really reared its head in a tangible way against UW. ASU late in the fourth quarter had a 7-6 lead in position to kind of, on a fourth down, to kick a chip shot field goal. Problem was they had lost so many linemen to their field goal unit, they couldn't field a full field goal unit. So instead, they go for it. And that is ultimately the play that Trenton Bourget threw the fateful pick six that Washington returned for the go-ahead and ultimately game-winning touchdown. But that kind of, just kind of the theme of the season so far, battling through injuries, battling through adversity. This is an offense that had pretty much great success. They're moving the ball up and down, but just couldn't punch it in, could not convert those opportunities. Even though they had a season high in rushing yards, and the offensive line, kind of a piecemeal fashion, played pretty well, but ultimately the offense just couldn't get it done, couldn't lift up the defense, who put forth just, again, a masterful performance.
And that's something that is surprising, because you looked at going into this game, Washington had an incredible offense, and as we analyzed last week, a defense that had some holes. So you thought that there might be some opportunities to score the ball. If we would have never thought that if you would have told us that ASU would have been so close in this game and up to the final score, that it would have been the score that it was. You would have thought that ASU would have had an incredible offensive output and just allowed too many points. I mean, this score went completely against the logic in every conceivable way. So the offense is the area where ASU needs to find ways to improve, because there are some very challenging defenses up ahead through the remainder of this schedule.
One of those defenses that might not fall into that category is Washington State, ASU's opponent this Saturday. So after the break, we're going to talk to a couple of those offensive players on that side of the ball for the Sun Devils, including left tackle Isaia Glass, who came back after missing several weeks against Washington, was able to get back into that left tackle spot and help lead a resurgent effort. So, if that offensive line can get things going, perhaps this offense will have greater success with those conversions. So again, after the break, we'll be talking to left tackle Isaia Glass and wide receiver Gio Sanders. Welcome back to Speak of the Devils. Now, ASU has been battling the injury bug all season long, especially along the offensive line. But last Saturday, they got some good news against the Washington Huskies, as left tackle Isaia Glass, the opening day starter who had missed several weeks, was back in the lineup. So after Tuesday's practice, I was able to catch up with Isaia, talk to him about getting back in the lineup, the state of the offensive line, as well as talking to wide receiver Gio Sanders about the difference in play calling since Kenny Dillingham took over. So how did it feel to kind of finally just get back out there and back into the trenches?
Yeah, it felt really good. It was a great atmosphere, team packed, big-time game, big-time team. And, yeah, I really enjoyed going out there and playing with my brothers.
What was it like just, in that atmosphere? It was pretty impressive, not a false start across the entire – it's like, obviously one of the more hostile atmospheres in the country and in the conference. But to guys have that discipline and also the success you guys had on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just goes to show our coaches, and then just our room, our group of guys. I think everyone, like I said, from Monday till game day was really prepared, really locked in, and really took every aspect and every situation really serious. So we're out there and just did our best.
No, yeah, of course, kind of another kind of close but no cigar. Just guys are almost right there each and every week. Kenny's talked about just as soon as you guys figure out that formula to get that win, and the wins will start coming in bunches. What are some of the things that you think are just kind of like the last couple boxes to check before you guys can start turning these almost into dids?
I mean, at this point, it's just the little things. I think everyone that's seen that in the games, in the film, that we have what it takes. We have what it takes to win. We just gotta capitalize on the little things. All those little things happen to a big thing. So if we just handle all the little things, we'll be all right, and we'll start checking those dubs. What's
kind of maybe the collective mentality of the offensive line? Just obviously so many injuries across the group, yourself and so many others. Just it seems like there's different combination out there, and a lot of guys who perhaps didn't expect their number to be called this year finally having to contribute. What's it like just in that room battling with all these obstacles?
I mean, I think it's definitely a challenge, because like I said, we have so many different guys going in, guys that maybe weren't expecting to play as much or getting a lot of reps and whatnot, or guys gotta be locked in. But I really love the way our room's been handling it. From the guys who were starting week one to the guys at the bottom, from top to bottom, everyone's locked in, everyone's doing their thing, everyone's doing their part to be ready for when your number's called. And I think we've shown that. This week it's the same thing. We have guys from all the way around that are just really locked in and really doing their part to help out when they can.
What have you seen from Coach Saga, just in terms of being able to kind of manage that room and keep you guys playing at a level despite kind of the ins and outs of the personnel?
Yeah, I mean, I think Coach T does a good job at not I mean, I guess just like not like babying the freshmen. I mean, he treats the freshmen like he treats everyone else. He holds everyone to a super high standard, whether you're a freshman or whether you're a 5th year or 6th year or whatever. So I think he has a really high standard for us, and we all do our best to try to meet that. And like I said, I feel like the young guys are doing a really good job at doing that.
Looking ahead to the Cougs, what are some of the things that jump out to you about what they like to do up front?
I mean, they're really similar to how they were last year. Obviously, we have Coach Ward now, but they run a lot of the same things. So we're pretty confident, and when we watching them and what they've been showing to us, and we're pretty familiar with that defense. So hopefully we go out there and do our job.
Saw you get a little bit of love on social media for the cool face mask there. What's it like? Is the equipment staff and kind of it kind of almost has like the Bane look there.
Yeah. I got a little bit of love on Twitter and Instagram, I guess. I saw his face mask one time on Instagram. One of my homies who was at Texas State, who was at Boston College, was wearing it. I said I need that, so I told them. They're like, all right, we can get it, and I've been rocking with it ever since. So yeah, I guess social media kind of enjoyed it a little bit too, but it was fun to show them that.
So obviously kind of a close but no cigar moment, kind of a recent string of guys getting pretty close in these games, just not being able to get that win. What do you feel is kind of the last couple things to be kind of preventing that, getting over that hump and getting those W's?
Yeah, kind of really just an execution thing. I feel like you said, it's really just a few little things, whether it's with the coaches, with the players, no matter who it is, it's feel like kind of how Dillingham just asked at the end. Everyone feels like everybody feel like they could all have like one play or just one moment where they did something different that would have changed the whole game. So like I said, it's really just the small execution pieces. I feel like, in all honesty, we have the effort there. So really, like I said, just execution, details, little things like that.
It seems like since Kenny took over the play calling, that he's getting the ball to the playmakers a lot more. You've seen time in the backfield, getting some more involved in the passing game as well as some other guys as well. What kind of differences have you seen since Kenny took over the reins there?
Yeah, definitely like what you just said, a lot more creativity. Like you said, getting me in the backfield, getting other slots in the backfield, putting some running backs out wide. Really just a lot more creativity, a lot more ways to get the ball into, like you said, playmakers' hands quickly and just make us make one man miss and go make a play type of thing.
How do you just see kind of the collective team mindset right now? Obviously, 6 straight losses and everything, but it's kind of one of the veteran guys in there. How do you see the kind of the team right now mentally?
Yeah, I think we're in a really good place mentally, to be completely honest. Obviously, we want to win each week when we go out there, but I feel like this year compared to last year, every game we feel like we played. Of course, last year we felt this way too, but this year definitely we feel like we could have won them. So I feel like with that in mind, knowing that, okay, it's not a lost season, like it's not like, oh, we're going out here and just messing up a bunch or giving up or anything like that. Like everyone really thinks we could just turn this thing around and just win out the rest of our season and just change the way the whole season's going. So I think that really keeps our mental going pretty strong.
When you guys see like your defense go out there and kind of put up the performances they've been doing, do you feel extra pressure as an offense that like we need to help these guys out a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I don't feel extra pressure, but I do feel like it makes me sick to my stomach sometimes. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I feel like not only can I do more, but the offense can do more, and especially in a game like when we play Washington, supposedly one of the best offenses in the nation, our defense play like that, and we can't come out with a play or two just to change the game. It definitely puts a sick feeling in my stomach. But as far as pressure, no, I don't feel more pressure because that's when you're gonna start messing up more. But I definitely feel some type of way about it.
Now looking ahead to Washington State, what do you kind of jumps out about this Coug defense?
Yeah, it's a lot like with Coach Ward coming in. It's definitely a lot like what we be saying in practice, of course with a few different variances, but a lot of the same stuff that we see in practices. A lot of man or a lot of zone, and then they mix it up a little bit with man. Don't really blitz as much as Coach Ward does, but other than that, like I said, a lot of the same stuff that we've been seeing in practice as far as like spring and stuff like that.
Any kind of inside info or any tips that Coach Ward or Coach Cooper have been able to kind of give together?
I mean, really just how they play the crossers. The opposite guy, he starts low, he'll drop deep, so you got to realize to keep the crossers high, things like that. Really just, I don't want to give it too much, but just a little basic things that they like basically we went against them in fall camp and spring, what we coached against them, basically just stuff like that, basically. That's the best way to put it.
Welcome back to Speak of the Devils and the latest installment of the Sun Devil Stock Report. We're going to take a broad look at the Pac-12 conference. There's a lot that's been going on these last couple weeks, some separation, some big things happening. So I'm going to launch 6 questions at Brad, see if he buys or sells the topic, starting with buy or sell. Even after last week's close win against Arizona State, Washington is still the odds-on favorite to win the Pac-12 championship.
I'm going to buy that, albeit maybe a little slightly, because I'm really interested to see where Washington goes from here, whether ASU might have been the proverbial hangover game after their big win over Oregon, or perhaps if ASU defensive coordinator Brian Ward provided a template for maybe some of the upcoming defenses to be able to kind of corral and contain that explosive Husky offense. I do think that right now Oregon is probably still the most complete team top to bottom, both sides of the ball, all-encompassingly in the conference. And I think that, we might be headed to a rematch in there and on a neutral field. I just don't know that maybe the Huskies can get that second win. So, but as of right now, they're the ones controlling their own destiny. So I'm going to buy that a little bit.
Buy or sell. Utah is a legitimate conference championship game contender.
I'm going to buy that. I'm not going to count them out until they're dead and buried. The two-time defending conference champions have overcome a lot in recent years in terms of being able to, go to the Rose Bowl, win the Pac-12 in back-to-back years. Very hard to do. Now, granted, their star quarterback is out for the season, but he hasn't played all year. The star tight end also out for the year. They have a safety playing running back right now, but you know what they do have, Joe, is Kyle Whittingham, probably the best coach in this conference. No matter what, he's able to get the absolute most out of his players. He's going to get a hard-nosed defense, great play along the line, and whatever fashion they need to do, whatever buttons and levers they need to press, they always seem to find the right one. So I think that until they're officially mathematically eliminated, they're very much in the race. I'm going to buy that.
Buy or sell. Both participants in the Pac-12 championship game will have no more than one loss each.
Okay, so yeah, keeping that specific wording, I'm going to sell. I do think that UW gets there. Probably they slip up once down the stretch because I think as of right now no team has ever gone through since the Pac-12 expansion, gone through undefeated in the conference slate. I don't think that they do, but I do think they get one loss. They make it. So that means that Oregon, Oregon State, Utah, USC, all teams with one loss as of right now can't slip up. We'll get to USC in a second. Oregon has Utah on the road, USC and Oregon State. OSU has U of A and CU on the road. And then Utah, I think is so limited offensively that I think they're going to drop at least one more. I think just that there's too many difficult games for each of those teams on there. And I do think that each one's probably going to slip up at least one more time. I'm going to sell. Buy
or sell. USC will not win more than 8 regular season games this year.
Oh, I'm probably going to slightly sell that. They're 6-2 now. They have at Cal, UW, Oregon, and UCLA at home. UCLA has a really good D. Rivalry games, always kind of a toss-up there. But I obviously kind of serious questions about their offense and kind of their ability, the situation at the quarterback. I'm really kind of curious if USC is going to be able to kind of compete. How are they going to be able to kind of manage things now that kind of the path to the playoff is off the table? They're still really good on offense. Defense, obviously kind of a dumpster fire there, but that's really hard, playing Oregon and Washington. I think that they're going to drop both of those games. I think they're going to take care of Cal. And then kind of the way the rivalry goes, I think they might be able to get that one up there. So, yeah, I'm going to sell.
Buy or sell. One of Arizona or Colorado will be bowl eligible, but not both.
I'm going to buy that. Yeah, I think that I think both teams are kind of on a path. I think November 11th might be the answer to this question when those teams match up in Boulder, because I think each team has some pretty difficult games on the remainder of the schedule. I do think that Colorado, obviously coming off some, maybe the little luster's gone there. U of A is kind of showing that they might be a little complete on both sides of the ball, but I do think they have to go on the road. They have some questions to answer. But I think whoever wins that game on November 11th is going bowling. The other one, staying home for the holidays.
Buy or sell, whether it's preventing bowl eligibility or preventing an appearance at the Pac-12 title game, ASU will ruin someone's season.
Absolutely. I'm going to buy that because this is the Pac-12. It's the last season. This is going to be full-on Pac-12-ness. ASU is probably going to do that. Utah and UCLA are very vulnerable, as we talked about. Oregon, I don't think that game's going to be particularly competitive. Washington State's in the mix for a bowl game as well. U of A might be anything goes, and we've seen so many times that rivalry that game can often dictate, the trajectory of an offseason, who goes to a bowl. ASU is going to be weird. I think they're going to spoil some stuff. There's not going to be too many close but no cigars. They're going to get a big win, and they're going to ruin someone's day in doing so.
When we return, we preview Washington State versus Arizona State. Welcome back to Speak of the Devils. Arizona State is going to host Washington State in Tempe as the Sun Devils return home for action. The Cougs, this is a streaky team. Started off 4-0, got as high as number 13 in the AP poll, but they have lost 3 straight games. They've got the number 2 passing offense in the nation, guided by quarterback Cameron Ward. He averages over 316 passing yards per game. He spreads the ball out quite a bit. He's got 3 players that he likes to throw to with at least 30 catches on the year through just 7 games. They've got that high-powered passing offense, but they haven't done much on the ground. They average under 88 net rushing yards per game. And even on the scoreboard, they've been pretty inconsistent. They're tied for 36th nationally in scoring offense. Not that bad, but if you've got that number 2 passing offense in the country, then you expect to get more points on the board. In the last 3 games, they've only combined for 47 total points. Defensively, of course, they lost their defensive coordinator from last year, Brian Ward. Maybe you've heard of him, doing some good things here in Tempe with Arizona State. Their replacement hasn't done quite as well. The Cougs rank 115th nationally in total defense. So though they have some offensive skill power, they do have some question marks, maybe some areas that ASU can exploit.
Yeah, kind of some parallels to Colorado in terms of, a questionable defense, an offense that is pretty one-dimensional, but that one dimension is pretty effective. So now as we look at our keys to a Sun Devil victory, number one for me is just kind of get that ground game going. Continue the Scata-Brooks combination with Cam Scattaboo and the recently returned to Carlos Brooks, who came back against Washington, led the team in rushing, part of that season best rushing effort for ASU on the ground. The offensive line still kind of, a little consistent personnel wise, but if those 2 backs can be able to kind of power their way, sustain some drives for the Sun Devils, I think that's a good blueprint for success.
And by doing that, not only do you get the tangible, the measurable results, but you get those intangibles. Cam Scattaboo is just one of those unique players that just gets the people going. When he's doing his thing, the fans are going to get into it, obviously, especially at home at Mountain America Stadium. So you get him using his versatile jack of all trades role. DeCarlos Brooks coming in, being an important player as well. You put those 2 together. They had a solid game last week, and things make sense for them to have perhaps their greatest game of the season up ahead against Washington State.
All right, key number 2, switching over to the Sun Devil defense. Now, the book might be out on the Coug offense. Much like kind of the air raid days under Mike Leach, teams recently have been just kind of rushing 3, dropping 8. So I want to see ASU to be able to manage and impact Cam Ward in the pocket with pressure, but just kind of using the base rush. Prince Storbaugh, BJ Green, Clayton Smith. If they were able to do a pretty good job of harassing Michael Penix last week. I want to see if they can replicate that effort against Cam Ward this week.
The best way to disrupt a quarterback, pick off some passes, cause some fumbles, get some turnovers. ASU did an incredible job at that last week after being pretty much non-existent in that category for the whole season leading up to last Saturday. Keep that train rolling, force some turnovers against Washington State. If ASU does that, they get a good chance to win this game.
Key number 3, just kind of take the points where you can get them. ASU was able to move the ball up and down the field, but just not able to convert those yards into points. Now, injuries prevented them from fielding a full field goal unit. And obviously that had some disastrous results. The coaching staff is kind of making sure that that's not going to be the case this week. So whether you get in that red zone, you got to be sure you come away with at least 3 if you're not able to punch it in for 7.
I think it helps being at home. I think it helps not playing the number 5 team in the country and one of the absolute elite offenses in college football. When you're playing that like ASU did against Washington last week, then you have to take more risks because you have to try to do whatever you can to get 7 and not 3. So there can maybe be some different strategies that Kenny Dillingham and company can employ this week against the Cougars.
All right, now it's time to see, to tell our listeners and viewers how we see this game playing out. I think this is going to be kind of an ugly game. You got 2 teams that are looking to end lengthy losing skid, but at home. And I think this is the game that we start to see ASU finally turn those close but no cigars into an actual cigar. Light them up for victory. A 27-24 Sun Devil win.
ASU's defense continues to roll. We see the Trenton Bourget that we know and love. The run game gets going. ASU gets a dub, 24-20.
Yeah, so make sure that you download our full podcast episode, available everywhere you get your podcast. Some great content coming down the pike. And Joe and I will be back next week as we kind of review what happened against the Cougs. And of course, big game coming up against a rival, ? Against the Utah Utes. ASU will hit the road again, a very tough game, and as in the final year of this Pac-12. So it will be back next week to break down exactly what happened and look ahead to a battle in Salt Lake City.